Good evening. Good evening. I'm going to talk quite specifically about Talbot Gateway, but just a little bit of background. RTKL has a bit of history with seaside town regeneration, and of course I wasn't involved in this particular scheme, Baltimore Inner Harbor, but RTKL has had the privilege of witnessing its regeneration over 30 plus years and was involved and instrumental in its regeneration over that time in various aspects of it, from urban planning all the way through to particular buildings as well. Closer to home, we're also involved in two other schemes in the United Kingdom that are seaside regeneration schemes, Mill Bay and Leith Docks as well. But we're going to speak about Blackpool Talbot Gateway, one that I'm most familiar with. Our involvement is with AMEC developments at the time when we won the competition. They're now Muse developments. And we won the competition in the end of 2007. And since then we've been having a good old time continuing with the process. What do we think about Blackpool? It's definitely trying to reinvent itself. It has, as you said before, suffered enormously from holidays abroad, and it's trying to reestablish itself as a different sort of place. Now, the area that we were involved in red there is not on the seaside. It's a bit of a way back. It's 100 odd meters, 200 meters away from the seaside, very close to Blackpool Tower and the North Pier. The premise for this development is part of a greater master plan for the entire Blackpool area, and this particular area is more geared towards the locals, not so much the tourist industry, but more about making a real place for the people who do live there. The area in question is like quite a few inner town areas in the UK, suffering from previous road engineering mistakes, if you like, in that there's rather an unsympathetic way of dealing with cars and people together, and this area is quite strange. I think we're lucky in that our site is a bit easier to develop than many, in that it is quite vacant. It's not exactly the most developed urban grain, so it's a bit of a place that really is crying out for redevelopment, if you like. It's an arrival point to Blackpool from the north and from the east, and it's a rather grim arrival point from Blackpool North Station. As you come out, you're faced with large parking lots, a rather dingy underpass, a rather placeless, characterless streetscape, some particularly awful buildings, railings, barriers. It really doesn't invite you into Blackpool. But that's where you want to go. This is what Blackpool's about. It's the waterfront, Blackpool Tower, the sea. So our vision for Blackpool, what is it? It's about making a place for the locals, and really establishing some kind of modern urban quarter, and really addressing that arrival experience and your route into Blackpool. That is the broader master plan, and as you're probably all aware, they didn't get the casino, so there's a lot more impetus on Blackpool Talbot Gateway scheme. And that's the area at the moment. So our master plan. Our master plan, I think the reason we were successful in the competition was how our master plan is sympathetic to what's there, and how I'll discuss all the issues that I think made it a successful master plan. But there's a list of uses and occupancies that were carefully sort of balanced as part of the bid. And I think getting this balance right is part of the key to any master plan and successful master plan. And this was achieved after lots of toing and froing with the market experts in the area and the developer, what they felt they could develop, what the market experts felt the market could take, and what could bring to the master plan the right sort of activity in the right sort of places as well. And there are a few key elements to this that were critical to achieving the right balance, I think, and they are the food store, the council offices, and the parking. I'll go into those. But the aspects that I'd rather discuss really are the design aspects that complement all of those issues. Our design for the area is really centered around making a square, and that square acts as the gateway and as the center of activity, and as a new place in Blackpool that really is about the locals, the people who live there, and about the experience of arrival if you are a tourist or somebody coming to visit. And then stringing that together with other places of significance to create a route in and to the promenade, which is another one of the key or iconic experiences of Blackpool. I think some of the things the master plan did was it engendered permeability, and it returned a sort of a familiar street pattern to the area that didn't exist. And it also, one of the keys is to orientate you as you're coming off a train. How do you get around? You've arrived here for the first time, perhaps, you don't know where you're going, to try and make it as clear and as easy as possible to orientate yourself. And then that square really is all about activity and knowing that it's there as well. Another aspect of the scheme that drove the scheme was that Blackpool Council have a number of disparate offices all over Blackpool that they were amalgamating into one office building, which became a key focus of the scheme, which is the larger circle there. I think the most important aspect of dealing with this sort of regeneration is understanding what traffic does, understanding cars and balancing the relationship between cars and people. And we worked very hard with Arabs to establish a completely different road network for the area, so that the area with the central area became a shared surface area, so that your experience as a pedestrian is dominated by pedestrianism. Now that area in the center would also allow vehicles through, but by the way that it's designed, it wouldn't be a preferred route, and so the orange route would be your strategic route. Again, I spoke earlier about the idea of returning the streetscape. We picked it up from the existing context and really wanted to, I don't know, return it, repair it, if you like. Okay. And it's really about trying to create that European sense of public space that is and would be unique in Blackpool. Coupled with that, to market, you'd want a few tall buildings that act as the gateway markers, if you like. These wouldn't, of course, compete with Blackpool Tower, half the size, but you'd need something to tell you where that place is. We went into a lot of detail on this competition, a lot more than you may normally do, because of the nature of the site ownership as well. And the desire to really make this a deliverable scheme. Yes, I mentioned parking. Half of the this scheme proposes 128,000 square meters of floor space, but it also proposes another 128,000 square meters of parking. So this is where it's key. This is a sort of interceptor car park space. This is on the town centre boundary, and the key is to get people out of their cars here, hence why there is so much parking, and get them onto their feet, walking into the town centre past the shops that are there. Sorry, that the strategic route that we've worked on, we were mindful that it didn't want to be a thoroughfare and a highway, that it wants to be a civilized streetscape nonetheless. So designing crossings as often as possible to civilize that particular route. And key to this as well is that there is Blackpool North Station right there, which is slowly over time moved back from the waterfront, and it's in that current location. And there used to be a tram line up there, so we proposed reinstating that, so that this whole area would really become a transport hub and a real destination, arrival point. And the other key is that the sites that are available and the amalgamation of Blackpool Council gave one the opportunity of creating a landmark building right at the start and really establishing people on the ground, starting to make a real place there, and starting to create the edges of that square. Oh, I really like these. And we also looked at Blackpool North Station, improving it considerably, making it much more efficient and a much more inviting experience for people arriving, both by car, taxi, bus, etc. That's it. Thank you very much.